You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, Nuggets Nation, and welcome on into your Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST. I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is hanging in there out there in Nuggets land, as unfortunately the boys tonight lose, put up a fight, but are not victorious as they lose tonight to the New York Knicks, 122-112, your final score. And tonight's episode of your Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. More from our friends over at Game Time in just a little bit. Let me preface this. I'm going to try to get through this show without coughing. Got my little drink. I've been sick for like a week now, so apologies for the inconsistencies on my end. I've just been going through it, and when you cough left and right, you can't really do a show. So I'm going to do my best to get through it tonight. Apologize if there's a couple coughs here or there, but, show must go on. I'm playing injured here tonight. But, man, disappointing game here for the Denver Nuggets for sure, who have now lost. Let me check my notes here to make absolute certainty of this. Yes, 3 consecutive losses. And if you remember, I think the last show that I did was that Minnesota. I don't remember off the top of my head now. But, they're on this 5-game road trip here, and you're expecting Denver, with some pretty favorable opponents. You knew tonight was going to be tough, but to lose Chicago in the manner in which they did, up double digits at one point in that game, frustrating. Minnesota blown out in that game, frustrating. And then tonight, just a frustrating one from the jump, because Nikola Jokic finds himself in foul trouble, plays like the first 2 minutes of the first quarter, and then is, relegated to the bench along with Michael Porter Jr., who also had 2 fouls. And, it's interesting, though, because I thought Denver's players without Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr., primarily Nikola Jokic, actually did a pretty good job of keeping them in this game here tonight, at least in the first half, right? When Jokic isn't playing for a majority of the first quarter and, into the second quarter as well, you tend to see things fall apart for this Denver Nuggets team. But I actually thought they did a pretty good job, all things considered. Obviously, it doesn't result in a victory, so, let's not try to spin it any other way. But, Denver did do a good job of putting up a fight in this game. And, when Nikola Jokic was back in the game, it was not a great Jokic night by any stretch of the imagination. Just not enough to kind of close the gap, and not enough. They did have a lead at one point in this, late in this game, but the Knicks home court, that ferocious pace that they play with, their ability to knock down the three, not a winning recipe tonight for Denver. So just a bad night across the board, I would say, for a number of different reasons. Like I said, I thought it was a bad Jokic night. Jamal had a great game, though, and that's the good thing is, obviously, you want Denver to try to go out there and win every game, but the fact that Jamal Murray is continuing to play good basketball and playing basketball at a high level, I think should give Nuggets fans some optimism about the trajectory of this season moving forward. But still, a lot of questions with this Denver Nuggets team. I talked about, in the last episode, how, out of the gate in January, this Denver Nuggets team has been one of the best teams in the NBA record-wise, right up there with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last 3 games, I don't want to say throw all that out the window, but it shows you that they're just not quite in that championship form. They're not quite that championship team. Right now, the Denver Nuggets profile as a pretty good team in the Western Conference, right? An upper echelon team, a top 3 or 4 team in the Western Conference. That is what the Denver Nuggets are. Now, that's nothing to, get upset about. That's, you could be a Charlotte Hornets fan. You could be, a Miami Heat fan right now with everything that's going on with Jimmy Butler. So Denver, all things considered in the NBA landscape is in a good spot. But when it comes to contending and trying to go for a championship, and Nikola Jokic in his prime, you're just seeing why there are still some holes that need to be filled with this Denver Nuggets team in this roster, one of which, what's going to happen with Michael Porter Jr. here. Another tough night for him. Trade deadline, rapidly approaching. I saw a lot of people tonight in Nuggets Nation on social media, kind of doing their thing. and, talking about, Michael Porter Jr., should he be traded? Should he stay? Whatever it might be. I don't know. But he's certainly playing like a tradable asset right now. That's for sure. And really that's about it, man. It was just kind of a stinker of a game across the board. Like I said, I thought Denver showed good fight, being able to keep this game close, but the Knicks, man, a really good team in the Eastern Conference this year. They're now 32-16 on the year. Denver falls to 28-19. The Knicks are, a force to be reckoned with. Are they on the level as Boston? Maybe. We'll see what happens here in the playoffs, but you're talking about a team in the Knicks that is certainly trending in the right direction here with their starting five: Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, the Nugget that never was. If you don't know that story, maybe I'll get into it towards the end of the show. Karl Anthony Towns, the newcomer, Jalen Brunson, who's an absolute stud, Josh Hart, who's solid as well, and they've got a couple of nice bench players as well, and Cam Payne and Precious Achiuwa. How do I say his last name? Achiuwa. I hope I said that right. I just know him as Precious, so apologies for any Knicks fans out there. I am from New York, though. My whole family's from New York. My dad's a diehard Knicks fan growing up, so I got a soft spot for the Knicks in my heart. Don't get it twisted. Not that I wanted the Knicks to win tonight. Let me get that out there as well. But I feel like, if there's ever a team that you're not rooting for, as long as you're not a Celtic fan, like if you want a feel-good story, like I'd be down to see the Knicks run the table. Why not? It's a team that my entire life has been absolutely dreadful. So it is New York, Madison Square Garden, the whole nine. So we'll see what happens here with the New York Knicks moving forward. But as it pertains tonight for the Denver Nuggets, man, just not enough. And, some lackadaisical play. What was it, 14 turnovers tonight? Let me confirm that for you. Yep, 14 turnovers tonight for the Nuggets, which in the grand scheme of things isn't it's a lot of turnovers, right? But it's not like 20 turnovers in a game. But the problem is this New York Knicks team pounces on turnovers. They cherry pick. And I'm not trying to say that in and taking a shot type of way, but they're so good at running back when the shot is up. How many times, in the first quarter, I think I saw OG Anunoby have 3 cherry pick layups off of Nuggets misses or off of turnovers, whatever it might be. And the 14 turnovers tonight for Denver resulted in 23 points for the New York Knicks. So that's your story of the game right there. 122-112, your final score, 23 points for the Knicks coming off of those turnovers, 14 of them for Denver. So definitely something to keep an eye on here. They had 25 fast break points as well compared to Denver's 18. And usually the common denominator for Denver in their wins is a higher percentage of three-point shooting and their fast break points. Because when Denver is getting out and running and, getting those easy transition points, getting to the free throw line, whatever it might be, that is typically a recipe for success for this Denver Nuggets team. But that was not the case here tonight, as the Knicks just ran all over them. Their pace, they got into some good moments there. There was a 9-0 run there for Denver in the middle of the third quarter. They were doing some things right there, in the second half, but just unable to kind of keep their foot on the gas as the Knicks pull away here in this one, 122-112, your final score. So a lot of sloppiness. That's kind of the word of the day here, sloppy. That's what I felt like this game was for the Denver Nuggets. And that's now 3 games in a row where they've looked sloppy in one spurt or another. Obviously, Minnesota, that was terrible the entire game. Chicago, good start, double-digit lead, sloppy at the end, blow that lead. Tonight, you get out to a really sloppy start with Jokic and MPJ both getting those 2 fouls. And as I've said a couple times now, I like the way that everybody else kind of rallied and was able to kind of keep this game close. But, in the second half, the turnovers, Michael Porter Jr. shooting, whatever it might be, man, just not good enough for this Denver Nuggets team here right now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward. They'll bounce back. Look, they'll go on and win 5 straight here at some point in the near future. I have no doubt about that. But again, I think the big picture takeaway from this game here tonight, and really these last 3 losses here from Denver, is this is not the championship team from 2 years ago. It's not. They can't just walk into these games and walk into these quarters and just expect to flip the switch and Jokic save the world and they're going to win these games, just because they have Jokic, right? It's going to take a lot more than that. They're not as deep as they once were. There's some deficiencies on this roster, some holes on this roster that they're going to have to figure out a way to kind of play through and try to figure this out as we go along throughout the course of the season. But a frustrating loss tonight for Denver for sure. They're 3rd in a row. Aaron Gordon back in the starting lineup. Christian Brown to the bench, which I was a little surprised. I shouldn't say surprised, but if you were a regular listener to the show, we had talked about how we didn't think Christian Brown was going to the bench just based off what we've been hearing from in and around the organization and how much they like Christian Brown. But just because Christian Brown went to the bench, and I'll save some of these thoughts here for coming up here in the next segment, doesn't mean that he's not playing like a starter. And we'll see if Denver rolls with this lineup as well that they rolled with tonight. But I got some thoughts on Christian Brown. So why don't we hit a break? We'll come back and talk about the starting lineup. Let's also talk a little bit about Michael Porter Jr., who had a rough night. And Unfortunately, it's been a handful of rough nights lately for MPJ. So we'll hit a quick break, come back, and do just that right here on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. All right, you guys, let me tell you real quick about our friends over at Game Time. Attending NFL playoff games is an unforgettable experience that brings fans together. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't even have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. 1 second. I recently used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming NFL playoff game. Browsing through the deals was simple, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The super deal was especially impressive, offering the best value for the event. The app's features like seat views before you buy and all-in pricing with no surprise fees at checkout make the experience smooth and reliable. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee give me peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms they do apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Be sure to check out our friends over at Game Time and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. All right, welcome on back in to your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Playing hurt here tonight, folks. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so apologies if I'm a little raspy, a couple coughs here or there. I'm fighting through it a little bit. But hope everyone's doing well out there. Hope everyone's hanging in there out there after a tough loss tonight for the Denver Nuggets, 122-112 versus the New York Knicks. If you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all. As always, make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Okay, let's get into it. The starting five tonight for Denver: Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Nikola Jokic, Russell Westbrook, and Jamal Murray. So no Christian Brown out there with the starters, at least, although he did play starter minutes tonight, 29 minutes for CB. AG only played one more minute than him. So just because Christian Brown was not in the starting lineup for Denver tonight does not mean that he didn't play starter type of minutes and played a starting type of role. And I heard some reasoning on the TV broadcast that part of the reason why they wanted to slot Gordon back into there, not only is he feeling better coming off of that calf injury, but, with the defensive matchups tonight, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, right? They got some length down low, do the New York Knicks. And so that's why the Nuggets end up going there. I see we got a couple Knicks fans in the comments. Let's go Knicks. Hey, let's go Mets, baby. I'm a Met fan. So my whole family's from New York, all that good stuff. So I got my boy Steve Cohen was down there sitting courtside with the Met cap. We don't like the Yankees, so if you're a Yankee fan, get out of here. We pushed the Dodgers a little bit further than NLCS than you guys did in the World Series. Just gotta, throw that out there as well. So I do have a soft spot for the Knicks, but this is the Nuggets show. I cover the Nuggets for a living, all that good stuff. So, but I always, it's always a little fun crossover when I get to talk some Knicks basketball as well, because I do have a soft spot for them. But as I was saying, Christian Brown tonight, 13 points, 4 of 8 from the field, 1 of 2 from 3. He had 5 rebounds tonight, an assist. So he did his job tonight in those starter type of minutes, despite not being a starter. Aaron Gordon, in his return to the lineup tonight, 30 minutes, 15 points, 6 rebounds. He was 6 of 7 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. Nikola Jokic, as I mentioned, an off night for him for his standards, 17 points for the Joker, 2 steals, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. So, just not a great night from him. 3 of 7 from 3, 6 of 15 from the field. Pretty passive on offense at times during this game as well. But what's also crazy? The silver lining, this dude's shooting almost 50% from 3. I caught it on the broadcast at one point in the middle of the game. He's like something like 47.8% from 3 this year. He doesn't take a high volume of them, although tonight he did take 7. But man, shout out Nikola, even though he didn't have a great game tonight. Just love watching him play the game. Russell Westbrook led the way along with Jamal Murray in minutes played tonight. He had 14 points, 0 of 2 from 3, 4 of 6 from the field. And then Jamal, who led the way in the scoring department. Nice to see him continue to, play well from the scoring department. 33 points for Jamal, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 3 of 7 from three-point land. So you like to see that from Jamal here tonight. But let's talk a little Michael Porter Jr. here, shall we? Because, excuse me, folks, I'm sorry. I'm fighting. It's been a rough few days. they've got to figure out what to do with Michael Porter Jr. They've got to figure it out. And he's not boosting his trade value right now. And I've been on record saying for about the last, 3-4 weeks, month-ish, that I don't think they're trading him. I still don't think they're going to trade him, but the recent play might be an indicator that maybe it might go the other way. I don't know. It really just depends on what the market is. But when you've got Jamal Murray now playing well, and you've got, Michael Malone in his post-game press conference talked about how Nikola Jokic and Russell Westbrook might be the best 1-2, the two-man game in the NBA right now. That might leave Michael Porter Jr. as the odd man out. And let's pull up his game log here real quick and kind of break it down for you, because he has not been great. And again, this is a guy who's making max contract player money, and, maybe not max contract player over the last couple of years. But, when he signed that deal, he's an upper echelon player in regards to what he's making per game. And he's really been anything but that. I mean, just take these last 3 games, for example, which is obviously a common denominator because they've lost all 3. Against Minnesota, 11 points, 4 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. So he hit his threes in that game, but only 11 points. You need more than that. Against Chicago, 18 points, 2 of 8 from 3, just nothing to get excited about. And then tonight against New York, 9 points, 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3, 3 rebounds. So, it's not like he's even carrying his weight in the rebound department. This is a guy that's averaging close to 7 rebounds a game at 6.4. And look, I like Michael Porter Jr. a lot. I think he's a fun player. I think he's a cool guy. I think he fits the energy of this team. I think his teammates like him. I think Malone likes him, But it is trading Michael Porter Jr. to get another guy in here going to make you better, not just this year, but in the long term, in regards to trying to maximize the championship window. And that's a question that Calvin Booth is going to have to answer. But again, it comes down to what is the market? Like, I don't know what teams are going to be willing to give up for Michael Porter Jr. It's kind of the centerpiece of a trade here. But at the end of the day, you just need more. And one of the major talking points in regards to trading Michael Porter Jr. from some Nuggets media and people that I've talked to is, his usage rate in the clutch plummets. Michael Porter Jr. when the game's on the line is usually kind of the odd man out. He's either, waiting in the corner for a 3 or he's grabbing a rebound. But offensively, he's not really a massive part of Denver's game plan. And, tonight when you kind of needed him to be a little bit more than he was, he was unable to kind of provide that. And look, we know he's a streaky player. We know that he's hot and cold. But at the end of the day, man, he just has to be better. He has to be better because with the money that he's making and what he does for Denver on the cap, it's just the reality of the situation here for Denver is you need Michael Porter Jr. to play like a max contract player. If he can't knock down threes, if he can't grab boards, if he can't be consistent, you don't have a Bruce Brown to bail him out. You don't have a KCP now to bail him out, specifically from the scoring department. There's a lot of pressure on all the starters now that has kind of gone up. We were picking on Jamal Murray for, virtually all talking about he needs to be better, right? Because Jokic was kind of shouldering the load for so long. And now it's kind of shifted back over to Michael Porter Jr. And so it's just one of those situations where we'll see what happens. I'm not so sure what's going to happen at the trade deadline. Again, if I had to, put some money on it, I don't think Michael Porter Jr. would be traded. But it is one of those situations where they've got to get this figured out, and they've got to get it figured out fast. So it's a 3-game losing streak right now for Denver. We'll see what they can do. But all right, let me hit my final break. When we come back, we'll get ready to wrap it up here, fighting through it. Appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Talk some Denver Nuggets basketball as they lose tonight to the New York Knicks, 122-112. Back in just a moment. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Do me a favor, guys. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. That way you guys never miss an episode of your Locked On Sports Denver shows right here on the channel. Locked On Nuggets postcast, of course. You can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Playing a bit hurt tonight, so appreciate y'all rocking with me as we're fighting through it. This sickness going around Denver, no fun, but got a job to do, so we're doing it, baby. But let me know how you guys are feeling out there. If you got any thoughts, comments, what do you think Denver needs to do? What do you think they need to improve on? What are your thoughts about this game? Go ahead and drop those here as we begin to wrap it up here on the show tonight. But let's take a look at their upcoming schedule here real quick for Denver. because now I think it softens up for them. Last I checked here a little bit, so an opportunity for them to kind of bounce back. Well, they got Philly on Friday, so we'll see if Joel Embiid plays in that game. But Philly isn't as good as they have been in years past. And then you've kind of got like a nice little 3-game soft portion of the schedule. They'll come home or they'll be on the road February 1st on Saturday at Charlotte. So that's gonna be a back-to-back Philly Friday, Charlotte on Saturday, and then they come home for 2 games against the New Orleans Pelicans Monday the 3rd and then Wednesday the 5th. So, I mean, you're expecting Denver to clean up against Charlotte and New Orleans twice. You know, we saw them lose to Washington earlier this year. So, you know, nothing's guaranteed. But, you know, on the heels of a 3-game losing streak, you expect them to kind of collectively wake up here a little bit and, you know, pull the rabbit out of the hat, for lack of a better phrase, and try to get back on track here. So we'll see what happens here in these next few games coming up for Denver. But, you know, they had won, 4 in a row? Miami, Orlando, Philly, Sacramento, and then they've now dropped 3 in a row: Minnesota, Chicago, New York. And again, I think the common denominator in all 3 of those losses has just been kind of sloppy play across the board. You know, just more questions than answers. You know, Jokic can't do it all. And, you know, you can't really blame it on Jamal right now either, because Jamal's been playing at a pretty high level. I mean, 33 points tonight for him. I mean, what more could you ask from the guy? So we'll see how Denver kind of tries to respond here moving forward. But tonight, whichever way you slice it, man, it is a disappointing loss, 122-112. So we'll see how Denver can bounce back in their next game. Knicks got the Lakers coming up next, so that should be a fun matchup for any of my NBA, just general NBA fans out there as well. But, you know, they got to be better. They got to be better. And, you know, as great as it was out of the gate in January, it reminds you this last 3-game stretch just how far they are from a team like Oklahoma City, from a team like Boston, whatever it might be. So we'll see what Denver can do here moving forward. But guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got to rest a little bit, coughing up a lung for the last 3 or 4 days. So bear with me. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. Make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. That way you guys never miss an episode. It is a 122-112 loss tonight here for the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see how they can respond. Again, just really not a lot to write home about tonight. Really, outside of Jamal, I guess, was the lone bright spot tonight with his 33 points. Christian Brown with 13 off the bench, Strawther with 5 off the bench, Watson with four off the bench, and DeAndre with a pair. So really just nothing new across the board for Denver tonight. So, you know, pretty standard in regards to when they lose. This is usually how it looks, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? So, nice to see Aaron Gordon back in the starting lineup, you know, first time in a while that he's been back there. We'll see if Malone tries to stick with this lineup. And here's one other thought before I get out of here. I'm a Malone guy. I've been on record talking about that. Like, I like Michael Malone. I think he's a good coach. I think he's a great fit for this team. But tonight was not his best moment. I don't know if it's because it was in New York, where he's from, Madison Square Garden, whatever it might be. But keeping Jokic out of the game as long as he did with the 2 fouls, you know, just Malone loves to push things to the limit. And look, he won an NBA championship. He won a title with this team. I'm not going to, you know, critique him all that much. Like I said, I think he's a good coach. I don't think he's going anywhere. But it is one of those situations where sometimes he can get in his own way. And I think tonight you saw that here a little bit against the New York Knicks. So it is what it is. The Knicks are a darn good team, though, man. They really are. They've got some talent. I mean, Mikal Bridges, 13 tonight. OG Anunoby, 23 points. Karl-Anthony Towns, 14. Brunson with 30. Hart with 15. Miles McBride off the bench with 12. So, you know, they've got some talent, man. And Tom Thibodeau, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's got this. He's built for New York, man. He's got this team playing the right way. I mean, New York shot 41% tonight from 3, 14 for 34, 51% from the field. I mean, Denver tonight, you know, not the worst from three-point land, 35.7%, 10 for 28. But again, it's a volume game with this Nuggets team. You know, they took 28, the Knicks took 34, and they shot below 50% from the field. That on top of the turnovers and the sloppy play, and that's a recipe for disaster against a pretty good team in the New York Knicks. So onward and upward. That is what is happening here for the Denver Nuggets. So we'll see how things continue to play out. But all right, guys, I'm out. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I will talk to you guys here soon on your Locked On Nuggets postcast. Rest up. Do it again soon. Have a good one, folks.